Hey yo, Zinger Nation, good morning. My name is Logan, and this is Web3 Anarchy, the new crypto interview show here at Benzinga, hosted by yours truly, Justin. How you doing today?
Good. How you doing, Logan? Good to see you today. I always love your energy when you first come on. Very excited about today's show.
Likewise. Who are we going to be talking to? What are we going to be going over?
We are going to be talking to the Wolf of Wall Street. You've probably heard of him, Jordan Belfort, investor, entrepreneur, also the inspiring character of a certain Leonardo DiCaprio film that you're probably aware of. I love talking to this guy. I've interviewed him several times before. Love talking to him about markets because he lives and breathes markets and crosses over not only crypto markets but traditional markets. So he's got like this huge base of understanding that he's drawing from.
Yeah, I've seen that film 1 or 12 times, so I'm excited to talk to Jordan as well. Let's get him on here. How are you today, Jordan?
I'm doing great. Doing great.
Jordan, good to see you again, man. How are you?
Great. I got my advertising, my iced tea company, Montauk Iced Tea.
Oh, really? Okay. Is that a company that you invest in, or is that?
Yeah, I'm a partner in the company. It's a private company though, so you can't buy it. You just can buy the product, the iced tea, which is awesome. Great, the best iced tea out there. Amazing.
Oh, well, okay, that's cool. I love I take any opportunity I can anytime you're not traveling to try and catch up with you because you have, as I explained to Logan. Logan is a young genius who's like gonna exceed us all in the next 20 years. I'm pretty sure. He's really savvy about the markets, but you also are very, very savvy about the markets. I love the depth of understanding that you bring to the table because a lot of people, when we're in a space where you're an OG, if you've been around for 7 years, well, 7 years. 7 years is a long time in crypto time. It's not a long time in time overall. So I just wanted to talk to you about some of the pain that people are experiencing lately. Who would have thought? I thought NFTs would just go up endlessly, defying all laws of all laws of logic and physics. Why can't they just keep growing forever, make us all rich all at the same time, Jordan? What's going on here?
Well, so I never launched any of my own NFTs yet.
I know, and you talked about it. You were totally going to at one point.
Well, I'm very careful that the last thing I want to do is I'm not interested in making money if it causes other people to lose money. And frankly, I just was very unsure about the market, where it was going. And to go out and sell 10,000 wolves, whatever it would be, and to make $10 million and everyone loses is not really what I'm interested in doing. So I'm kind of, and I think NFTs, by the way, I think this is just a tip of the iceberg of what NFTs ultimately will be used for. And I think, I'm just patiently watching the market evolve and also waiting for some regulation to come into the market and see when we have more regulatory clarity, at which point I'll know what I can do, what I can't do. And I think that probably some of the reason why, the NFTs, many of them are down is a lot of them just have no business being launched in the first place. They're just nonsense. They're just people trying to cash out and riding a wave. And it's almost like the worst parts of the .com bubble that burst in 2000. And then you have some really great projects, of course, with really interesting artwork, really a solid utility, great communities, and those ones are recognized. And so you got to be careful. But I think that we're going to look back at this moment in time and say, those were NFTs? Like what? Like, why were those even, NFTs? Like, I think it's I think so much of the economy can be tokenized over time.
Right. And but you're not like an NFT like naysayer, like which I appreciate. You just think that the market potentially, like when it moved from 5 billion from 1 billion to $2 billion in transactions between May and June on OpenSea last year, maybe that's hard to sustain. I mean, if it's going to double every year, every month.
I'm very, very bullish over the long term on NFTs, but I think that many of these projects, they're just nonsensical. There's no reason for them to exist. And I think the market is very quickly recognizing that. And then when you see good projects come to market, they blow up and there's still a huge demand. So I think this is probably a healthy thing as a shakeout. But again, also the markets, they go in cycles. I'm sure it'll get hot again at some point. Something will happen. Next thing you know, there'll be a bit of a chase going on. But I think that hopefully this year we're going to see some regulation come into the market. And that, I think, is the most bullish sign of all.
So you welcome the Biden executive order?
Oh, it's hard to even Biden. It's hard to know.
We'll see what they do with it, right?
I just, I just think that if you go back in history, and I've been around, as you said, really longer than I want to admit. I've been in the market through so many cycles of booms and busts. But one thing I've noticed is that whenever you have a dark market, like you have like NFTs or crypto, where there's not a lot of clarity in what's going on behind the scenes, it's opaque. A lot of anonymous. What is that? Oh, sorry. Was that you guys? A lot of anonymous players that aren't disclosing themselves. There's always a tremendous amount of fraud and problems. When regulation comes into that sort of market, it does not get worse. It gets better. It blows up. So, when regulation with the junk bonds, everyone's like, oh my God, they're regulating junk bonds. It's the end of junk bonds. And meanwhile, junk bonds run wild because institutions can now get into that space safely. Same thing with swaps, derivatives. As they get more regulated, they get better, not worse. So I think it's going to be, a little bit of pain in the beginning, maybe, but I think very quickly that is going to turn around. You're going to see large institutions getting involved. They say on Wall Street, institutional money is usually smart money. And even when it's not, it's enough to fuel the market anyway.
Right.
Jordan, do you think that if the regulators can't ban or regulate the privacy coins, then they will opt to ban them instead?
So, it's hard to ban. So like the word ban is interesting. I think what's going to happen here is that they're going to start making examples of people. And they'll be, they can create regulations that, I wonder if they could, what the how far they would go in terms of saying it's illegal to hold a privacy coin. I don't know if they'll go in that direction as much as they'll demand that you disclose your privacy coins. They'll say, okay, you can own whatever coin you want, but you have to disclose it anyway. And if you don't, you're going to go to jail. And I think as they start to, criminalize some of this stuff, you can do anything you want in the stock market. You can own things in phony names and do whatever you want until they catch you, right? And it's a very much more aggressive regulatory body watching it. But once this starts to happen in crypto, I think you'll see a lot of the bad actors, kind of find the next thing that's not being regulated.
You think the SEC is going to lean in? They're looking to have a bigger footprint, get more funding. They've shown some signs that they would like to start regulating. We're a little bit happier being regulated as a commodity. What do you think?
My guess is I'm going to take a wild stab. That's going to be a new regulatory body that will be made up of a combination of both. They'll kind of merge together and sort of share in a new. It'll be a new 3-letter word.
Yeah. So, right now, I know that like Bitcoin has made a small recovery, bring it back up to 54. But if I think it's 54. But if I had told people that, 6 months ago,
54, you mean 43?
I thought it was back up to, what is up to Bitcoin? I'll check it right now.
$42,712 right now.
Oh geez. Oh man. Okay. Well, there's the problem. That's what I'm talking about. Like that would have been, now on the one hand, if you told me that in 2017, I've been like, that's ridiculous. What are you talking about? $1,700 right now. Or when I first heard about it, it was under a penny, but I'm not smart enough to buy it back then, even so someone told me. What do we say? Like on the one hand, from my perspective, because I'm old, I'm like, well, it's still up quite a freaking bit over where it was, but you can see how it feels. So that's some pain coming down from 65 last year. I think that's around about 65 where it topped out. What's your take on that?
I think that for those people that were speculating and using the leverage, it's very painful. For those people that were legitimate investors, longer term investors, I don't think people are really put off by that so much because, it took a major run. So unless you were like an unfortunate person that top pick, and a lot of people have an average cost that's probably not that much above where it is right now, but some people are down. But I don't think that Bitcoin is a short-term investment. I think that's very foolish. I think Bitcoin is something you should hold for the long term and have a 3 to 5 year horizon. I think if you look at it like that, I believe you'll end up doing really, really well. There's certain, features of Bitcoin that one of them being a halving that will come in a few more years that would certainly be, place upward pressure as the rewards get smaller for the miners. And historically that's happened when they do a halving and they have the rewards, it's caused the coin to rise. And I think also, again, regulation is going to increase institutional adoption. And I think that's going to be powerful as well as an upward indicator for Bitcoin. And lastly, I just think generally speaking, there's just adoption is continuing, but nothing goes up in a straight line. And I think you really, if you're smart here, you have to look at the fundamentals of Bitcoin, meaning what really it drives it, what's the tokenomics. It's very brilliantly structured, and it's, it should, all things being equal, it should appreciate significantly over time because of scarcity and the fact that there's a finite amount of it. And it's sticky. People typically buy it and don't trade it. So it has all the earmarkings of an asset that will appreciate in value versus depreciate.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that people, I know that people are checking out the indices every day because it's a lifestyle, it's a hobby in some ways, it's a passion for people. Maybe a passion is a good word. For you, investing, of course, is your whole thing. But for your average retail investor, maybe is just really into it. Don't you get the feeling that they bring a lot of stress upon themselves by like checking the daily indices and freaking out about it? Doesn't that just invite a lot of panic to do that?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think that it's very difficult to trade these types of assets and make money if you're just looking to just sort of find trends. I think that you're going to end up losing like that because you're trading against professionals that really have their finger on the pulse of these markets, and they probably have more accurate information than you, faster computers, better executions, that just, and probably a bit more emotional control because they're professionals. And I think that's a dangerous game to play. And I think that when you watch this, it's fun to watch it if you want, but if you're watching it in the sense that you're trying to trade in and out, I mean, I really think that's a dead end for the average person. So now that's not to say, like, I have some things I invest in that are just fun for me. Like there's one of that you actually wrote up called Titano. I think you guys wrote it up, and someone just gave me this tip. It's a DeFi application. It's hysterical because the interest rate is so high, but it's actually working. So that's a fun thing for me. I put a few dollars into it. I watch it roll. It's like better than going to the track. And like, but that's very different than looking at a Bitcoin, which is a very long-term investment for me,
Right. And the thing is, you are having fun with it. You're always advising, don't bet money, don't invest money that you can't afford to lose. You got to keep it in context, right? You're not trying to make your life off of it. You're just kind of having a little bit of fun on the side.
My CFO said, I had this funny conversation with my CFO just yesterday, and because I have fun with some of these altcoins, these DeFi protocols, right? And Titano was one, and I got lucky, and I just made a lot of money in this Titano, and I'm still in it, right? And then I took another speculative move on some other coin. It's like, it's probably going to blow up, right? So I put like 25 grand, and he's like, my CFO was like, I don't think you're crazy. If I made as much money as you and all your other stuff, I'd probably speculate too. But you have to be prepared with this stuff to literally lose every penny that you put into it. Now, I don't think that's the case with Bitcoin anymore. I used to say that with Bitcoin, but I don't believe that anymore. I think Bitcoin is a relatively safe investment. I do not see it. I'd be shocked if it went to zero or something like that at this point. I think it's way too established. I think it can go down, but it can go down for sure because things go up, they go down. But the one exception, I urge people, do not use leverage. And this is the mistake I see people making in crypto. It's a really volatile asset. All of these coins, they're volatile, and it's volatile enough that without leverage. And if you use leverage, you're just like, it's like putting fuel on a raging fire. It's not going to just blow up in your face.
Right. Absolutely.
Jordan, there's a lot of people that have made life-changing money in the past 12 months off of crypto and NFTs. What advice do you have for any young investors out there who might have gotten their accounts much bigger than they could have ever expected?
It's true.
Well, certainly I would tell you to take at least a healthy amount of the money that you made and put it into, safer investments. And that doesn't mean you have to take it out of crypto, but I would certainly, there's some really interesting protocols that allow you to stake stable coins and make really strong returns staking stable coins. So that's one example of something you could do. Simply holding Bitcoin or Ethereum, which I consider to be like the so-called blue chips of the crypto world. I think those are very safe bets. I don't think you have to get out of crypto to have safe money. But also, I would say you should get out of crypto. You should diversify. You should get, if you're making more money than you ever thought you'd have, and you have millions of dollars or whatever that number is to you, you should put at least 30% in the S&P 500 in a Vanguard fund and just put it, hold it, and reinvest the dividends. And that's going to be your best bet for your life, just to buy the S&P and hold it over time. That I would strongly recommend to anybody. And then with the rest of the stuff, you want to have enough in sort of the stable coins like a Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever. Those are the ones that come to mind. Then, yeah, you can still keep speculating with the altcoins. And, you know, if you have a formula of getting in early and you have good connections and you know people doing great deals, I'd also urge people to try to look for the private ones, the seed deals before they come out. Harder to get if you're not wired in, but if you can get yourself wired into a good network, there's great opportunities there as well.
Right, absolutely. Go ahead, Sarlin.
No, that's the end of my question. Whenever I make that life-changing money, I'll have to come back and watch and remember.
Oh yeah, watch Logan, man. He's gonna beat all of us in the next 10 years. He'll have that life-changing moment of money, and then we'll never see him on the podcast again. He'll be off working on his projects. But you know, like what I like about your perspective is that you can can toggle in between traditional and crypto markets. And these days, you know, isn't it just another digital asset class? Isn't it just another asset class? There's maybe some difference in personality of the investor, but like crypto has not only more people investing in crypto, but more people investing overall. So like, you know, when you talk about in investing in like USD stable coins, USDT stable coins versus like bonds, for example, like where's the trade-off for you if you're looking for something that's kind of like a safe way to proceed with maybe the gains that you made in 2021?
So the problem with bonds nowadays is that the interest rates are just so low in the traditional marketplace. Like when I was growing up, when I was young, even before I got into the markets in my teens, interest rates were 22%. You made a lot of money by just getting out. You take out CDs and get 23%. There was CD shopping back then. It was a big business. You could get 20+% or 18% in municipal bonds. That was serious money back then in the 70s and early 80s. Now, in the last 10 years or so, interest rates have been effectively almost zero or slightly above it. And so what happens, you're going into bonds and there's no progress being made. And given inflation, especially the way it is now, you're going backwards. So to me, I think that, at this level, even though they're starting to raise rates a little bit, this is such a nominal amount of money you make by investing in this fixed income stuff. So I think the S&P is a far, far better way to put safe money away. I look at the S&P as being historically very, very safe. And it's proven that with the compounding and reinvesting dividends that you're going to do really, really well. And probably, by the way, with that one simple strategy, you'll beat out 98% of the hedge funds out there because they can't beat the S&P. No, it's very difficult to beat the S&P. On the other side, I mentioned stable coins in certain, programs out there. There are people doing really, really well in, getting interest in staking stable coins and farming and yields. So, but do your research and remember, like, nothing is too good to be true. If there's a very high interest rate, that means there's going to be massive risk. But there are these sort of sweet spot 9 to 15% interest that you can get. It's relatively safe. Nothing is totally safe. But I think that it should be looked at as part of a balanced portfolio.
There are things going on, Ukraine right now, for example, Russia being, living up to it's what I remember from growing up when we were growing up with the Soviet Union, having very much that kind of vibe again, very much the potential of, nuclear war or some sort of world war in Europe, the biggest, they're saying the biggest conflict in Europe since World War II. That's going to have a destabilizing effect overall. And boy, talk about hard to predict. I mean, not to mention just, Russia, the Russian consumer is being taken out of the equation for these crypto projects. How is that going to, how is it going to shake out for crypto versus traditional investing? Like it seems to me like there is a risk here, but there's also a huge opportunity for crypto to maybe become more important. I don't know. What's your take on it?
I think I find it shocking some of the moves that the U.S. government has made, freezing Russia's assets like that. It's sovereign money that was in dollars is essentially what is that?
No, no.
Oh, fuck, hold on. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway,
Got a scanner going on there?
Yeah,
I don't know what that is.
I think that the U.S. I think is very, very dangerous to freeze their assets like that, their sovereign money that was in dollars, because what's happening is it's ending the dollar as a global reserve currency, and we enjoy a certain leisure here and the ability to print money without consequence here, because the dollar is used all over the world to trade oil, especially. It's the reserve currency for basically all oil transactions. But look what's happened. Suddenly you don't like the noise, you freeze their money, you take them off the dollar system. Well, guess what? You bring them right into the hands of the Chinese in the yuan, and suddenly Saudi Arabia is now starting to trade oil in yuan. And that's a shocking thing, by the way. And the world is based on a dollarized economy, which makes the U.S. able to do things that we enjoy benefits, like just being able to print money without consequence. And the second the dollar is no longer the global reserve currency, that ends. And I don't know what's going to happen. I think it's very, very foolish and dangerous. And while I feel terrible for Ukraine, I think it's a terrible thing that's happening. They're no angels either, by the way. The guy who's in Ukraine.
No one is, but we're trying to go after a guy who has $1 trillion hidden all over the world, right? Like that's what the problem is. That's
he
why
also has 6,000 or 5,500 nuclear bombs, and like that scares the shit out of me.
That's the problem.
I think while I wish the war would stop yesterday, and I hate to see people bombing other people, I think that the rhetoric right now is just really, I don't think it helps. And I think backing someone into a corner like that it just seems like it's the military industrial complex doing what they do best, keeping the world at war, selling weapons to everybody, creating chaos and destruction. And I've seen the playbook before. It reminds me of, I wasn't alive, but if you watch any documentaries, it's almost like, hey, did anyone see what happened when they blockaded Japan and cut off their oil and put their back to the wall? They bombed Pearl Harbor. So what is going to happen with Russia if everyone cuts them off, makes, the pariah state, and he's a war criminal? What's he going to do? Now you give the guy no choice but to go full rogue on the world. So to me, it just seems like very poor brinksmanship in terms of trying to settle it and stop a war. That's just my opinion. I think that they invading was a ridiculous, destructive move, but that's done. I think people try to stop it. It seems like everyone's trying to just make it just get worse and worse and worse. And it's literally the next world war. Really? Well, over Ukraine, we're going to go a world war over? I don't know. It's shocking to me.
Oh, there's a lot of people being harmed right now. I have a question from JD's 357. At what point do you see the bond and traditional markets catching up? Does the money cyclically move back into the traditional market?
Problem is that ship has sailed, because the Treasury and the Federal Reserve cannot let interest rates go up so much, because they won't be able to service the national debt. So there's now this massive overhang of countless tens of trillions of dollars of national debt. The only reason we're able to service that debt is because the interest on that debt is so low. If interest rates were to go back up to 8, 9, 10%, well, that debt becomes unserviceable. So I think there is a limit to how high they can allow rates to go. And I think what we might see instead is stagflation, which is going to be where we're going to have inflation and low growth. But I don't think interest rates are going to go up that high, because I don't think they can go up that high.
All right,
seemingly out of nowhere, yesterday we saw Biden come out talking about a new world order, and that potentially the U.S. might not be the reserve currency anymore. Total complete shift in narrative. What do you think of that?
Oh, there you go. He destroys that. Good job, Biden. Destroyed the world economic system in 2 short years. He destroyed everything. I mean, it's probably the dumbest thing I've ever seen. I mean, literally, like the amount of stability that brought to the world, the dollar having reserve company, and the benefit to the United States is insurmountable. All the dollars that are overseas, that are kept overseas by all these governments that are unstable currency. They use the dollar as their as their reserve currency. If that changes and all those dollars come back to the United States, I mean, good Lord. I mean, inflation will go through the roof, literally hyperinflation. But I just think it's just idiotic and just I can't even believe he'd utter those words because it's so ridiculous. I guess it doesn't shock me because it's Biden.
Well, of course, it's another person who actually invaded another sovereign nation and started killing people. It's of course not Biden who invaded a sovereign nation and started killing people.
But what does that do? But why does it do with that? So then we should destroy our own economy.
Well, that's a good question. Or well, there are many innocent people, of course, who clearly have no choice about this war.
Didn't we go into Iraq and bomb Afghanistan? And
oh yeah. No, yeah.
Who are we to say? I think what he's doing is terrible, Putin. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to defend Putin's actions, but who are we? What moral high ground do we have as the United States of America, who God knows how many wars we've started, how many bombs we've dropped, and how many governments we've overthrown through the CIA. So I just think this whole moral high ground, I think, is nonsensical. I just think I think Putin is insane for doing what he's doing. But for us to sit there like we're this literally white the arbiters of good behavior in the world, I think is ridiculous as well.
No, that's some facts. We are not the good guys. I mean, and even the fact that we're paying attention to this war, where were we when he did this to Syria?
Exactly.
Where the Crimean Peninsula?
Well, Yemen. I mean, it's going on all over the world. Exactly. So again, my heart goes out to people in Ukraine, but to a world war because of this, I don't know, man.
Well,
is Bitcoin the optimal reserve currency then?
What's that?
Is Bitcoin the optimal reserve currency then because it's non-governmental?
I don't think anytime soon. I don't think that. I think that you're going to have these things running side by side for a very, very long time. I don't think, unless there's some sort of massive shock and reset in the world beyond just a competition now between the yuan and the euro and the dollar, where it starts to become less dollarized, but there's still some semblance of order. I don't think Bitcoin becomes the de facto reserve currency in any way, shape, or form. I don't think that. I think, though, it becomes a very, very important store of value. And over time, you're going to see governments holding on to a lot of Bitcoin as well, and large corporations. But I don't see it. But maybe I'm wrong. I mean, no one can predict the future, right? But I just think if that's going to happen, it's probably a long way off. Like probably many, not in my lifetime. But I could be wrong.
You get the feeling that certain global events like the pandemic, to me, obviously increased public awareness of crypto, public use, adoption, mainstream adoption of crypto overall, and so definitely it played a role in that ginormous bull run that we had. First of all, the bull run fully over? Are we in a bear market? Are we in the winter of our discontent right now? Jordan, what do you think?
If you would have told me that after the pandemic hit, the market would go flying up, everybody crazy. I don't know where the market's going. I really don't. I'd be lying if I told you I knew where it was going to go next. I think long term the market's going to go higher over the long term, but I honestly can't tell you what I think is going to happen next. I'd be lying if I told you.
So I shouldn't ask if you think it's going to reach 100,000 this year.
Oh, well, I mean, no, this, again, like, I'm bullish on Bitcoin, but when you start locking into time, people asked me last year, I said, I think it's going to 100,000 or 30,000. I was very clear. I don't know. You really know where people are so full of shit when they say Bitcoin's going at 400. No one knows. That said, 3 to 5 years out, I think it's very safe to say that Bitcoin is substantially higher by multiples of 3, 4, 5 of where it is today. I think there's long-term pressures on the market that will drive it significantly higher. But I can't say in 3 months, 6 months. There's too many things that can happen that are out of your control.
Right. We only have like a couple minutes left. Is there what are you up to these days? How are I know you do speaking, you do seminars, that sort of thing. Is there anything you want to mention while you're here on the show?
Well, I'm doing a tremendous amount of stuff in the crypto metaverse and DeFi space right now. And the reason is because there's just so much activity. I do deals. I started as my company is just a regular old-fashioned iced tea company. It's phenomenal, right? But I'm seeing so many deals because we're reinventing an entire financial system right now. It's almost like we're laying down the railroad track to a whole new financial world. So it's exciting. It's fun. I'm actually doing a mastermind at my house on April 9th and 10th, very small, 12 people, very all substantial players that are already doing well in Bitcoin that really want to get involved in bigger deals. And so I'm doing that. And I'm always looking for great deals. And I'm around the world speaking. Whenever I love to speak, it's my passion. So I get booked constantly around the world. I enjoy that. And I think that it's a very exciting time to be alive. So if you're young or old and you're ignoring this whole new rage of crypto, I think you're making a big mistake. I think you need to be at least dipping your toe in the water at least and learning about this stuff. Because what you don't want to be is some of the theses that say, Bitcoin is going to a ridiculously high price, they might be right. And you don't want to be you want to at least have enough of this that you're hedged against Bitcoin really making a major move and becoming a reserve currency. No one really knows what's going to happen. So, people think Bitcoin could be $500,000 or $1 million. Who knows? Okay. What I don't want to be is the schnook that didn't own one Bitcoin if something like that happens. And I think that truthfully, the chances are far greater of it going up than going down over the next 1 to 3 years.
Right. That's perfect. Thank you so much. And anytime that you're done, you're in between travels, when you're at home for a week in the East Coast, I would love to have you back on. Contact. Always happy to talk to you, Jordan. Love to talk about the markets with you.
Thank you, Jordan.
Take care.
Thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Take care.
All right, Justin. Amazing interview. We will be back on Thursday, right?
Yes, we're going to come back on Thursday, and we're going to have BNB, BNB Chain, which is the newly rebranded Binance Smart Chain coming on. They're going to be announcing a couple of things. One is they have a huge global hackathon kind of thing going on, but also talking about smart contracting and other stuff that they've been adding to their network. They're adding a lot of capabilities.
Super excited for that one. Make sure to smash the like if you haven't yet and subscribe to the Benzinga channel so you can see us talk to the Binance chain on Thursday. Justin, thank you so much for a great show today. We will talk to you guys, Zinger Nation, later. Peace out.
Thanks, guys.